This week's Financial Tip Tuesday is going to be about retirement plans at your company or where you work. The most common are 401k plans. You might also hear 403b plans as well. There are a few differences between the two, but you can think of them as essentially the same thing. 401k plans are usually for for-profit companies, where 403b plans are for non-profit companies. So let's go over 5 secrets that aren't really secrets, but some things that people might not know about these plans. The first thing we're going to talk about are matching contributions. So a lot of companies will match some money. So if you put a certain amount in, they will match. And the most common are probably dollar for dollar match or 50 cents on the dollar match. So for every dollar you put in, your company might put an additional dollar in. Or for every dollar you put in, they might put in 50 cents on your behalf. And they usually cap those at a certain amount. So it might only go up to, say, 4% or 8%, but then after you put more in above that percentage, then they're gonna stop or not match any more money. And so this is free money, and you really wanna take advantage of it for most people in most situations. An example I like to use for my clients and people I talk to is at the end of every workday, if your employer or your boss came out and just plopped some money down on the table and said, hey, great work today, take this when you go home. Are you gonna take it when you go home, or are you just gonna leave it there and say, nah, I don't need the free money? That's what you're doing if you are not contributing to your 401k plan or 403b plan to get the employer match. So look into it and consider doing it. Number 2, know the vesting period. So a lot of these matching contributions, your companies will have a vesting period. And what a vesting period means is if you leave the company before that certain time frame is up, the matching contributions that they put in for you, they're gonna actually take back with them. And so you still get the money that you put in, but the company is gonna take their matching contributions back. And so know the vesting period. I would say the most common one I typically see is probably 3 years. So if you leave the company before 3 years, they take that matching contribution back. If you stay more than 3 years, then it's all yours. But every company can have a different one. So some are 1 year, some could be 5 years. Sometimes they do it as after 1 year, you're 10% vested, 2 years, 20% vested, etc. So there's a lot of different things. So you have to check your plan to know what your plan actually has for the vesting period. Number 3, know what you're invested in inside of the plan. So I would say the most common that I see are target retirement date funds are the standard ones, the default plans that they put you in. And so they basically take what year you're probably going to retire based on your age, and you go in that target retirement date plan. So it might be target retirement 2055 or 2045. And those are usually pretty good, depending on how much they cost and what their expense ratio is. But what it does is it's kind of an easy set it and forget it, that as you get older, it's going to become less aggressive. It's going to have more bonds and less stocks the older and older you get. And so that could be something really good for you. But for me personally, I didn't want to be 90% stocks and 10% bonds when I was younger. I wanted to be 100% stocks. And so if I let myself stay in the default target retirement date fund, I could be missing out on some potentially more money as long as you're okay having a higher risk tolerance. And so I actually changed mine so that it wasn't in the target retirement date plan, and I did the full 100% stocks on other options that were available. So know what you're invested in. And if you don't, research it or reach out to a financial advisor. Number 4, know the fees. Know what you're paying. So what you're invested in, they will have an expense ratio is what they call it. And so different funds have different expense ratios, and that's how much they're charging you every year to be invested in that fund. On top of that, the investment company that runs your retirement plan also usually charges some type of fee. A lot of times it is 8%. And that can be harder to find. All the funds have the expense ratio listed out there, pretty easy to find. The fee that you pay the investment advisor or the investment company that does the retirement plan is usually a little bit more in the weeds. You have to kind of dig into it, reach out to your HR department to figure out how much they're actually charging or getting paid. Number 5. Roth versus traditional. So more and more companies are offering a Roth option for their 401ks and 403bs. So I'll review this again. Traditional contributions, that's been around the longest. The year that you put the money in, you get a tax break or tax deduction. And then years down the road at retirement, when you take that money out, then you pay taxes on it. So you're just deferring the taxes till later, kicking the can down the road. A Roth option, which more and more companies are offering in their 401k plan now, it's the opposite. You don't get a tax deduction the year you put the money in, and then down the road at retirement, when you take it out, all of that money is tax-free. And so you really have to decide what you want to do. Nobody knows for sure what tax rates are going to be years down the road. And so the typical rule of thumb is if you are in the 24% or lower tax bracket, then it probably is better to do Roth contributions. If you're in the 32% or higher tax bracket, then it probably is going to be better to do traditional contributions. So it just depends. You have to really decide for yourself what you think is going to happen down the road in the future. It also could depend on what state you live in as well. If you're in a higher tax state, which means you're going to have higher income like California, New York, then it might be more beneficial to do traditional contributions. If you're in a lower tax state, or some states don't even have an income tax, then it might be better to do a Roth contribution for your plan. Now, the matching, the employers will still put into the traditional plan for you. So if you're looking to diversify even a little bit more, if you put yours into the Roth and your employer puts theirs into traditional, you could be kind of splitting the difference, and that might be an option to think about as well. Hopefully those secrets, not so secrets, tips, hopefully that helps. Look into it, know what your plan is, know the details. If you need help, reach out, I'm happy to help. And please like and subscribe. Please feel free to put any questions or things that you want videos on in the comments, and I'm happy to help make a video to help you understand finances and investing better. Have a good week.